Hey there, my name is Radi, and if you're a busy founder who understands the importance of a personal brand but never seems to get time to invest in it, this video is for you. I will show you the exact framework that I developed to turn your profile into a landing page, create content that makes your ICP interested in your offer, and help you get sales from your personal brand. And if you need help with all of this, at the end of the video you can book a clarity call with me so we can see if we're a good fit to start working on this. The first question that I like to ask founders when we start working together is, have you ever created content before? Depending on the answer, if the answer is yes, what we are going to do is we're going to scrape the existing content depending of where it is. We're going to build a custom GPT to help for ideation and as a writing assistant. And I will put all of this data into a summarization pool. And as mentioned previously, we can use this for ideation and inspiration. We can use some tools to transcribe videos in case the founder was on the different podcasts or they had YouTube videos. We can curate content from the internet, and we can also create drafts and analytics from this summarization pool. There are a couple of tools that I use for this purpose: Canva, Napkin, ChatGPT, Authored, Upsider, Glasp. But yeah, we can discuss all of the details if we ever get a chance to work together. If the answer is no, and if the answer is yes, the first step is to do an interview with you as a founder. There are a couple of core interview questions that we need to go through in order for me to have a better understanding of who you are, what are some of the goals that you want to accomplish. And these questions are related to goals. For example, is it the case that you want to build the personal brand on LinkedIn or some other social network platform? Do you want to establish thought leadership, or do you want to increase the sales of your products and service? When we're talking about products and service, I need to have an understanding about your business model, and connected to that is the ICP and buyer persona. The question of who is your buyer and where they're spending the majority of their time. If your buyer spends the majority of the time on LinkedIn, it makes sense to build your online presence on LinkedIn, but in some cases that's not the case. They're spending time in different places like Twitter or Instagram or Quora or Reddit, and in that case we will build a strategy for that, and LinkedIn wouldn't be a priority. But for this purpose, because I specialize my services mostly around LinkedIn, I'll use LinkedIn as an example. ITLP, that's a concept that I developed, and it means Ideal Thought Leader Profile, and it should give an answer to the question, who are the people that your ICP is following? Those are other thought leaders that you can co-create content, you can engage with their content in order to get in front of your ICP, because your ICP is also following them. So that's very important for the purpose of partnerships when creating content. Core identity story. It's something that you can tell in 20 seconds or less and represents the core of your journey. What was the moment of change that happened to you, and what was the reason that you originally founded your business? We can work on that and make sure that I have a good understanding of what your core story is, because the core story is going to be addressed and mentioned throughout your content journey. This interview is going to be recorded with Fathom. Fathom is an AI note-taking tool, so we don't have to worry about taking notes. We'll have everything summarized at the end of the call, and it will give me enough information to start working on the actual content. So we will set up this weekly interview cadence. We will meet at least once a week for you to share any insights that happened in the previous week, because one important thing about content is it needs to be up to date. Every human being continuously develops and interacts with their environment, so we also need to take this into account to make sure that we are following the latest trends, to make sure that we are following the latest developments in your industry, and that we are talking about these topics. Once we do this, we will choose a platform where we want to focus the majority of our attention and efforts. In this case, let's presume this is LinkedIn. But I also help people create an overall funnel. So it's not only about content for the sake of creating content, because just creating content will not lead you anywhere. And I'm talking from my personal experience here also, because there were moments where I had a beautifully designed funnel, so all the content that I was creating was leading people somewhere, and I could definitely see higher conversion rates when I had that. But then there were moments and situations where I would work for a company on LinkedIn and it wasn't so clear of what I do. Do I work for myself? Do I work for that company? I was creating content, people were interacting with it, but they were just confused and they weren't sure what is the next step in this funnel. So I could definitely feel the lack of conversions, the lack of interest. And with you, I want to make sure that after we establish your personal brand on LinkedIn, this needs to lead somewhere. And the best is to to take these people from the social network and lead them somewhere in an environment that you control. It can be a newsletter, it can be a community, but it's important to take the email from these people because you can never rely too much on any social network. They can just change the algorithm, and all of the effort that you created and that you built for the last year can go down the drain. So we want to take these people and lead them to a place that we control. It can be our website where you have a free newsletter, it can be a community. We can discuss all of these things. Now, coming back to LinkedIn, it's very important to now create a strategy and a posting frequency. First, question on that topic. Do we want to create posts ourselves, or do we want to implement co-creation? I would say both are very important, because when we are talking about co-creation, and remember here the concept of ITLP, Ideal Thought Leader Profile, we need to find other people. Sometimes these people are going to be your ideal customer profile, someone who is literally your buyer. You can invite them to co-create something for the mutual benefit of both sides. You can go on podcasts, you can co-create a post on LinkedIn, you can leave comments on other people's posts so you increase your visibility. You can mention other people in your posts, because when they comment on the post that you've mentioned them, you will have their whole audience seeing your post. So that's also very important. And then also we want to create content as an individual. The reason why I created this question here is just because of prioritization. Sometimes we want to prioritize the co-creation with other people. Sometimes we want to prioritize establishing content pillars and for you to create content by yourself. And then after that, we want to implement co-creation. So the reason why I branched out these two questions, these two answers, is simply because we need to prioritize things. Basically, what are we going to do in the first month, in the second month, and in the third month. After that, we need to decide on the form of the content. Now, these two concepts are very important. We have form of the content, and after that, we have the medium of the content. Form of the content is, once we establish what are our content pillars and what are the topics that we want to cover, and we know why we want to cover these topics, because they're interested to our ICP and we want to make better conversions and we want to have these people buy something from us. We need to decide on the form, and the form can be either a story, your personal story, and there's a whole science behind how to tell a good story. Every story requires a moment of change. You need to have a place associated with the story. So I look forward to that's basically my favorite topic of storytelling, and I have the whole section that's very detailed and very dedicated to this. But story is one way that we can share a topic of interest. It can be a story about success, a story about failure, story of how you founded your business, story how you almost gave up but then something happened and you changed your mind. Besides story, we also have insights that you can share. Insight is not story because it doesn't contain this moment of change, but insight is something that you realized maybe just working on some of your tasks, and then you notice something and you want to share it with the public. We also have a contrarian take. Very often on LinkedIn, you will see these cluster of thoughts. Many people will say, for example, in the sales, they will say SDR role is dead, and then 50 people will jump on this bandwagon and everyone will write posts that state that SDR is dead. But now you will have a contrarian take that will state SDR role is actually not dead, and they're doing this intentionally because they're going against this bubble that was just created on LinkedIn. But now this one post will create another bubble. So this continuously happens on LinkedIn. There are these bubbles and topic clusters, and if you're smart with strategically targeted contrarian take, you can get a lot of attention from other people. We have listicle, which is top 7 things that are important for Webflow, for example. We have a business case study. This is when we share our own case study, or when we co-create with someone else and we explain in detail, step by step, how we help someone with our solution, or we just analyze someone else's business and the success that they were able to achieve. We have a tool review, we have a framework review, latest news that we want to share, before and after. We have memes that are quite popular. But what's even more important than that is that every form of the content can be shared through different mediums. Now, this is very important. You need to remember this. Story can be shared as a video, as an image, as a text, as a carousel. Listicle can be shared as a video, as a text, as a carousel, as an image. I don't know, before and after can be shared as a video, as a text, as a carousel, as an image. When you have this understanding of how things work, and you have your content pillars, and you have your topics, and you have your forms, and you understand the mediums, you can basically create endless amount of high quality content that's relevant for your ICP. This is why this framework that I developed is it works at the end of the day because it covers everything that you can do on LinkedIn, but also on other social networks. Here, I'm not focusing so much on other social networks because the dynamic is a bit different. There are other things that work better on Instagram and other things that work better on TikTok. But in the case on LinkedIn, this is it. There's nothing besides this, and I'm only going to enrich this framework by adding new examples that I encounter every day. But let's quickly go through this, and as you can see, I tested all of these things out myself. We have a video where we can have a screen share. In this case, I was doing a tool review of a tool called Ansend, and it got pretty good engagement. We can have a casual video where we just talk with the camera. It's usually in the vertical form, and we can hold something in our hand like a microphone, so we seem more relaxed. We can go outside and make a video in a park, on a beach, in a car, and we can do reaction to other videos. In this case, I reacted to Jeff Bezos' video. Then we have carousel. The point of the carousel is that you can have multiple images associated with each other, but the first image is going to take all space on the LinkedIn feed. This is very important to remember because I'm going to talk about using multiple images, just sharing multiple images compared to putting those images in a PDF and creating a carousel. Just the design dynamic is totally different. We can tell, coming back to this, we can use any one of these forms of content. We can have a tool in a carousel. We can do a framework review in a carousel. We can do latest news in a carousel. Very powerful. Then we have images and text. Images are important because they take a lot of your feed, and this image can be a selfie, it can be an infographic, it can be a meme, or it can be this setup that I just saw on one of the creators on LinkedIn, where I think it looks quite interesting. You can put 3 images and you have a design like this. So instead of carousel that we saw here, where you just have one image as a beginning of the carousel, here you have 3. So with this one image, which are actually 3 images, you can tell some sort of a story, and I really like this. Steph is sharing her story, and then she has some text and some comments associated with the first image, and then these 3 images tell the rest of the story, and then she also has an actual post. Very cool. And then we have regular text, which is, I would say, the most important thing because everything starts with text. You need to have text, and you need to write everything down, and then you can choose which mediums to use to turn this around. But if you look here, any medium, whether it's image, carousel, or a video, requires text on LinkedIn. So text is very important, and we never want to give that up. Regarding the topics, topics are going to be interested from this first interview and from who you are and from what you want to accomplish. So this is something that we already covered, but we will develop content pillars and then branch out individual topics that belong to these content pillars. And below, what's also very important, and many people don't approach this strategically, are lead magnets. One of the best strategies on LinkedIn that you can have is to create a lead magnet, to share it with the people, and then to request something in return. Usually people require a like and a comment, and then you would send them this lead magnet, but in return you would get much higher increase in followings from people. And I have a couple of examples here I would like to share. At one point I wrote the ultimate guide to finding a remote job in 2025. That's a very good lead magnet. I created an onboarding plan, so the first 30, 60, and 90 days of your onboarding, whether you are a VP of sales or an account executive, because this was my target audience. I also found on the internet LinkedIn sales messages. This is a process that can be turned into a lead magnet, or in this case AI prompts. So these are some additional examples that you can use. You can have a PDF, Google Sheet, or a Google Doc as a guide. You can have videos, you can have directories, free tools, AI agents, AI prompts, or carousel cheat sheets. This is just a couple of examples. The possibilities are literally endless depending on your industry. That was it. I hope that you enjoyed this breakdown. So that's the framework, simple and straight to the point. If you want help implementing this, or you just need clarity of what will work the best for your LinkedIn profile, let's talk. Hit the button below to book a clarity call with me, and this will be an excellent opportunity for us to meet each other and to see if we are a good fit to work on this.